Hi all. Right, back to Empire of the Sun. Still turn 2. Well, we've only played one card. And I think I've got 2 hours of footage out there and one card played. So you can see how this is going to go. It's going to take some time. It's the way I do things. So, well, obviously if you've looked at that and it's not your cup of tea, then you would have moved on from that. Again, this isn't mainly aimed at trying to help or teach others. It's to try and help me understand the game and maybe teach me the game. But obviously, if other people get something out of that, that's even better. So now I did decide this is going to be part 3 of the playthrough. And I had part 1 and part 2 recorded, and I realised that part of me I talked about playing right through the whole first turn, recording the whole first turn, to then see if I was coping with it, and then leaving it till uploading videos to let people see. Because I was a bit annoyed with myself the last time when I done the fire and the light videos, and I only got so far into it. So there's like half a playthrough. Well, it's not even half a playthrough. It's the first part of a playthrough up there, and it just comes to an end. And I just decided, and I've actually put the game away now, so I can't even go back to that as well. So I didn't want that situation again. However, I also feel that I'm going to make rules mistakes here. That's definite. It is. I'm not. The other games that I've done playthroughs of, I've made some mistakes as well. And I've been far more up to date on what the rules are with the games. I'm nowhere near good with these rules at all. There's lots of sex. I've not even got right through reading the rule book again. I have read it once, and I've looked over bits, and obviously when something comes up, I'll look it up. I don't just sort of say, right, I think that's right. But yeah, it's a very complex game, and to me anyway, some people out there might find it. I think Mark Herman himself thinks it's quite easy to understand the game and whatever, which is maybe for the brighter of yous out there, that might be the case. But anyway, and well, the other part is, as I've already said, I'm a big stickler for the rules. I don't like getting anything wrong, and if I've made a mistake already, I would try and fix it as best I could. And I know a lot of you would say, oh, just leave that, move on, forget about it, but I'm really, really fussy about that. If any of you watched my previous stuff, there's been some daft rewinds that I've made that even that a lot of you would say, why are you bothering with that? Just let it go, it's not a big deal or anything. Well, to me, whether it's OCD or whatever, whatever it is, I just feel like I've got to get everything perfect. Maybe not perfect, but anyway. So so I decided to upload the first video. That's what I was getting around to, and that is up there. Now the second one I haven't sort of glanced through yet, because I do like to have a glance just in case I can see any mistakes myself. So I do generally watch them all back before I upload them. And then if I do see a mistake, maybe make a wee comment. So I have uploaded that, and just to see. I mean, to be honest, there's very little gameplay in that first part, I think. The second part, I do get the card played, obviously, and as this is the third part, you'll know all that by now. You'll know all what I'm saying by now. But I suppose I wanted to add, and I put a wee note in the header of the first video, basically saying that, just a warning that this might get too much for me, and I might come to a point where I'm saying, look, and it's two things mainly. It's the rules, which, okay, I could say, right, well, go and read the rule book, go when you've got a bit of spare time and that, rather than sit here recording, go and have a look over certain rules and browse up on, brush up on some of your rules. So yes, I could indeed do that, and hopefully I will. But I think the bigger challenge is for me is, this is not what I'm used to. It is a bot with flowcharts, with lots of decisions to be made, and not just decisions to be made within the flowchart, decisions that I'm having to make myself. for the boat. There's a couple of other things. We're just actually going to come into that now when I decide on what the allied first card is. But even though there's ways of the Japanese player reacting and deciding if he plays certain cards, there's certain cards I know that are in the Japanese hand that if you knew they were in Japanese hand, you were playing against an opponent, you would say, right, I'm not going to play that now. So, and the fact that I've got the hand turned down, the Japanese hand, but there is one card that's stuck in my mind that affects a card that I've got in my hand, and it's regarding inter-service rivalry, and there's no way the bot can get round about dealing with that. I don't think there's anything there that says, yeah, I just don't think you can deal with this situation. And what I mean by that is he has a card in his hand to get himself out of inter-service rivalry. I have a card in my hand to put him in inter-service rivalry. So right off the bat, I think if you take the Arcadia Conference card, sorry, let's just move on here and look at the cards a bit, since we're starting to get into things. But this is still talking about one of the things that bothers me. I understand what can you do in the game. This is not really a solo game. It's a two-player game, and I get that, and I can see it looks like a fabulous two-player game. But there's no way around about that. So you would probably still want to play this card first as allies if you're taking it, because if you let the Japanese have another turn, my guess is, it could end up destroying some of the units that you could maybe get some, this lets the Dutch units react, shall we say. It lets the Dutch units do something, because it puts out a joint HQ, and it's only joint HQ that the Dutch units. Now, admittedly, yeah, all these 1/6 Dutch units, they are just little bumps in the road not even bumps really for the Japanese, but there is the Dutch cruiser there. Oh, and by the way, somebody gratefully gave me a note of what the abbreviations were. This is a light cruiser, CL. BBs are battleships, CAs are heavy cruisers, CLs are light cruisers, DDs are destroyers. I think battleships and destroyers, I probably would have guessed at what they were. I believe this, I had a wee glance, because I thought, why don't I just Google it and find out? And it did look to me that, I'm going to, yeah, exposure. I'm finding the focus on my, sorry to go on a wee tangent there, but the focus on the camera sometimes looks a bit off. I feel like I have to keep focusing, and you would think it should auto-focus. I didn't have this issue with my last phone, but this is still better to use in a lot of other ways, so I'm going to persevere. It doesn't look bad, just sometimes certain areas are out of focus. But then when it gets focused in, it does look really good, I think, on the playbacks. And this is a lovely map to show off, and the colours of the counters, I think, look fabulous when you view it back. Like, I think it's very nice. I remember, the counter-attack playthroughs, I watched his videos through of it, and he's pretty good quality video recording, and it looks lovely, the counters all come through. And I'd like to think mine's was quite nice as well, but it's that focus roundabout that was bothering me. So, and then I've got a bit there that says exposure and focus are locked at the moment, so my guess is that means if I go elsewhere, it's not going to change the focus, whereas I would need to focus in. What I find myself doing is moving to an area, and at the moment this is probably out of focus on the cards, and then I click on it to focus in, but it would be nice if you just moved down there and it autofocus, but I'm not very good at this. Right, so what were we talking about? Yeah, battleships, destroyers, heavy cruisers, light cruisers. Yeah, thanks for that. Sorry, I can't remember the name, but he made a comment on the YouTube video. And then asked about the carriers, because I assumed that CV and CVL, well, they clearly are, because they've got the extra number for the range, but I wasn't sure exactly, and he pointed out that CV were large carriers, or maybe heavy carriers, so the large ones, and CVLs were light carriers. So I don't know if there is anything more than that. I think that seems to be them all, but you never know if we come across another one. Yeah, and I was saying I looked up, I googled it, and because BB battleships, I mean, okay, there's a B there. What's the other B for? And same with destroyers, DD, and well, CL light cruisers. I suppose the other way about, but CA heavy cruisers. But I believe it maybe comes from French. I think there was something I came across, and it was taken from the French words for these, maybe something like that. Anyway, that's what they all are. So hopefully I'll be able to point at something and say, right, that's the Dutch light cruiser. Although I might need this bit of paper with it all written beside me. Maybe after a while I'll get it. Anyway, so yeah, and I was talking about the ABDA getting it in the board, and I would then be able to not only activate this, but activate it in reaction as well, and this air unit, and also this is quite a strong Dutch unit. Now I know the Japanese, John Steed's videos and that, he's got great videos on how to learn the game, and he talks about the fact about how difficult this is, a unit to try and attack from amphibious assault because of it being a 612, and it's more likely you don't want to do it that way, and I don't think Erasmus does it that way. It makes its way onto land and attacks it across the land. That's how it does it, but that would take a little bit of time to do that, so it might let us do something. I'm not awful sure what, because there's not an awful lot. You don't have a lot, but anyway, I think just if you let the Japanese have another turn, then there is a chance that they might come down here and mess about with I mean, maybe even take the Dutch cruiser out before we get the chance to do anything with it, you know. And it'd be nice to be able to, if Japanese do something the next thing in turn, that I can sort of have the annoyance of being able to react, so that they've then got to maybe pin the Dutch unit, or maybe put more strength into their attack to get the results that they need. Anyway, so yeah, so that would be, your thinking would be that that's probably the first card that you might want to play. However, having this card in my hand, putting the Japanese into inter-service rivalry on the first card play, to me sounds like, you know, that would really annoy them. To be honest, it's going to annoy me as well, because well, maybe not, because it restricts me to being able to pick in either army or navy, but however, I would have to probably make that decision by myself about which I'm going to pick, because I don't think Erasmus deals with that. I've not seen anything that says it does. And obviously, but the biggest problem with this is that I know that they've got a card in their hand to end inter-service rivalry. However, when I think about that, I can't think. Well, maybe they would play it right away. I don't know. Maybe they would play that card right away. You'd need to go through the bot procedure to see what it would do. And I'm not going to do that. And that, like I said, these are the things that kind of, you know, bother me a little, because of that. It's a bit, you know, it's gamey information that you could play on, and I don't want that. I want to play a fair game here, you know. So, but a lot of people play this game two-handed without the bot, and they must just deal with that. I mean, the other thing's weather cards, you know. The counter-attack play-through series of the game, he played both sides, and you know, he did use a weather card at one, well, maybe more than one point, but I was watching it again, and it was there well in videos where he played a weather card, and you know, I find that really hard to do. You know, when would you actually choose to use it? Where at least with the bot, with the weather card, if they've got a card, they're going to roll a dice, and then the dice is going to say, right, they're playing the weather card, or no, they're not playing the weather card. I'm hopefully not going to try and play around about that, but this one, I don't want to play around about that either, but I've just got to get in my head, when would I want to play this? My thinking would be that I'm going to play this first, and this is going to be my second card that I play. So that's what I'm thinking I would do. However, knowing that they can then get themselves out of that, you know, if I was wanting to game it, I would say, oh, well, maybe not just play that, and then I'll wait and see if they use that card. And saying that, they're going to keep that card to the end, aren't they? Yeah, they are. Yeah. Interesting. But I could then game it even more by saying, let's put this into the future offensive queue, and you know, until we know they've not got that card anymore. But again, you don't want to try and do that. That's not really how the game should work, is it? So anyway. Right, okay, 15 minutes gone, Grant. You've done nothing. Just blathered on. Okay, so, well, it is the ally turn. And, yeah, I am going to do what I said I was going to do. So I'm going to play the Arcadia Conference card. And, yeah, I mean, I know I just talked about putting them into inter-service rivalry would be a good idea. And you might be thinking, well, you're not playing that because, you know, he's got that card to get him out of it. I don't think so. I've just explained the fact that I think you will probably want to play this first, and I have said that I would want to play that other card next, because military events for the allies not really necessary, are they? They're just now. I don't think they're. You know, you can't really get aggressive, and you're just trying to move defensively. If you remember back to how the bot proceeds, he tries to set up the Burma, the CBI sort of defence, doesn't it? And yeah, I think that's the first thing it tries to do, isn't it? If I recall. Oh, well, no, it actually plays that. So this is exactly what the bot done in the playthrough. But however, I don't feel like I'm copying as such. If you take that card, I think that should be your first card play. Maybe not always. Maybe some people have a different strategy with that. But I mean, yeah, for me, it's I'm not. You're not going to see anything great strategy wise. So that's what we're going to get, and then obviously the downside to playing this card is that it ends a US inter-service rivalry, but we're not in that. So ideally, it'd be brilliant to be able to play that, get yourself out of inter-service rivalry, and then play this new HQ. But that's not how it goes, right? And then so it's just a bonus where we can access top part. We're not in ISR, so that's fine. Ally player receives Abdi HQ, which is placed in any in-supply port in Java, Borneo, Sumatra, or Celebes. If no such port is available, this HQ is removed from play for the remainder of the game. And the worry with this is also it's got the yellow dots. It's a pre-war HQ, so if and when it gets eliminated, it doesn't come back. It doesn't go in the turn track to come back at a later date. It just goes, and that's that. So yeah, I mean, I think the popular place to put it, although there are options, is Chilat Jap. Wait just now. I'm just going to mess about with some. That says that's focused, right? All focused. Nah, see, that's not really in a great focus, the card, is it? And now it is, yeah. Yeah, but see, as I move up to there, it's not auto-focusing in on the counters, is it? Even if I zoom in. Ah, well, it does when I've zoomed in there. But I tend to find that if I press on it, it focuses. Sorry, I know this is something I should probably be practicing with before actually recording something that you want to actually see. But yeah, so Chilat Jap seems to be the most popular place to put it, and yeah, I think now, well, it's got a range of 12. So does it grab like this light cruiser? Light cruiser? No, it's not. That's a CA Grant. That's a heavy cruiser. So it would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. See, it doesn't quite grab him. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. It could grab this Australian unit. And just to be sure, the joint HQs can activate anything, can't they? Which is kind of shame that it's just coming out there now and it probably is not going to last. Yeah, they can activate anything, even the Chinese and whatever. So, but I don't think you should try and stretch up to getting at the Chinese, to be honest. And it's the supply trace and thing up there is a bit iffier as well. But plus the fact we've got the SEAC HQ away up there. So I think, yeah, I think I'll just put in Chawatja. I could put it in Sorabaja, and that would allow me to grab the US Asia heavy cruiser. To be honest, that's kind of better. But here's the thing. Yeah, this is where the ground unit is, the strong ground unit. Yeah, let's not mess about here. Let's just put it there. Yeah, because it's got that air unit and the ground unit, and that heavy cruiser's been reduced as well, so it's not really something that's going to do an awful lot, is it? And well, admittedly, that does mean it can't be activated at all. Oh no, hang on. Did we not say that it was within the Pearl Harbor activation? Excuse me. Activation trace. Because Manila's out now, isn't it? Yeah, Manila and Singapore both got taken out. Their units got taken out. So their HQs are out. So, oh, you know what? I think it's fine. I think it makes sense putting it there beside the ground unit, and because that is a hex that the Japanese are going to have to try and take eventually. And I say that it's not a resource hex, but I believe, is it not one of the surrender hexes? Chawatjap. Yeah, Dutch East Indies, so surrender hexes are Chawatjap and 7 resource hexes. So we've got a nice force there, and the Japanese are strong, and no doubt they're going to be able to take it, but eventually, hopefully it can create a bit of time. And the more time goes by, the more reinforcements we get coming in, etc. Okay, but that's that card done then, so nice and simple for the allies, and this gets removed from play. That was an ally card as well. Yeah, I remember that, the submarines, that was really good, wasn't it? So these are removed from play, so put them up there. And yeah. And I don't think well, actually, can the allies react to that? Can they play a weather card on that? Because they've got a weather card. This is bonus. It's just a bonus. Well, actually, I think they maybe could. So hang on. Let's just look at this and see. Because A says, is there a weather card available? So I'm pretty sure there is. And then, do you meet the weather card criteria, which is B? And the weather card criteria is here. Roll 1d10, play only if the result is less than the number of active allied units times 2. Okay. So we've not activated any units. So 0 times 2 is 0, and you can't get less than 0. Unless it was a surprise card, because you get a -2 to that, but it was not a surprise card. So yeah, clearly that's a way of saying that they can't weather that. Yeah, maybe just glance at the rules, Grant. Yeah, so I just opened up the rule book for 5.32, rule 5.32 reaction events, and section D of that is weather. And it does say there are several weather reaction events that cancel offensives that activate units, with or without battle hexes, and which may be played after offensive player movement and before an intelligence die roll. So that tells me that you need to actually activate a unit and move it, because it cancels that out and moves the unit back, doesn't it? I guess it's just that it also cancels any bonuses that I know it reads on to say that prevents any event bonuses, and that's what we were doing there. So, you know, if it was able to do that, it would stop the Abdi HQ appearing, my guess would be. Although I think the card, if it's a remove from play card, it would just get discarded instead. Yeah, the cancelled offensive card is considered discarded, not played, so it is placed in the discard pile and not removed from play, even if its event calls for removal from play. Okay, yeah, like I say, I'm not well clued up on the rules at all yet, and some of you watching that would sort of probably be saying, well, you should know what that does, but here we are, that's where we are. Whether I should have put a bit more time into going over the rules again before I started this part in particular. Maybe the playthrough would have been okay, but the example of play, but this playthrough maybe I should have, but I was enjoying it. I enjoyed that example of play, and I actually wanted to try and make some decision myself. So, as long as I don't get the rules wrong, if I'm struggling to find them and I eventually do find them, that's fine with me. It makes for a longer video, but the videos are going to be long. If you want to watch this, they're going to be long. They're going to be drawn out, maybe tedious at times, and maybe me ranting on, and some of them involve me having a beer and late at night and a bit of slurring maybe. Okay, right, so no chance of reaction there either, to be honest, because it wasn't an offensive card that activated any units. Right, good. Okay, so, well, that's just where was that sequence of play? Because I just skipped by that. No. Yeah, activate units, move activate units, declare battle hexes, reaction, bonuses, special reaction. Yeah, there's no combat, post battle movement. Yeah, when you play an event like that, I guess nothing really happens. You just then, you've played your card. Yeah, and yeah, you've played your card, and then it goes back to your opponent, basically. I believe. Okay, so let's get the allies' hand back and see what they're going to do for their second card play. Okay, so here's the Japanese hand, and I'm a bit concerned that the fact that I only had the one military event, but I mean, I didn't. It gives you that option if you don't have one at all to go and get that. Is it Kondo or something? I can't remember the card, but we had one. We did have one. So I mean, it is a fair hand. It is a legitimate hand. But as you can see, there's no more military events. So it's probably going to be quite slow for the allies. I mean, yes, they can use this for a 3 OC value. That creates only one battle hex, remember. Fortunately, they did isolate Manila and Singapore on that first turn. That first offensive, first card play. Yeah. So there was that, but well, you know what? That's the hand that they've got, and I'm a bit worried that it probably means that they're not going to have a strong first turn, but I don't know. One of the watching John Steed's selection of videos, he was playing a game against somebody that had a very strange result. It maybe had similar situation as he ended up playing, was it 3 War in Europe cards within the turn or something like that, reducing the War in Europe track, or maybe it was over the space of a couple of turns. I don't know, but I think it was something similar where he didn't quite have the offensive cards to get moving, but you know, it's a card game. That's what happens. Let's just deal with it and see how. You know, if it makes it, you know, it might be that this is a plus for me, but who knows? I've got to make my own decisions as well, which will be debatable. Right, let's go and look at the charts then. Okay, so axis of determination, open and phase still. Start has no notes to tell us about. On to A. Are Allied HQs in the Philippines, DEI and Malaya out of supply? Philippines. DEI and Malaya, yeah. That I always remember when I read that first, I was thinking, right, there's two of them. But no, it means the one, it's DEI and Malaya, so which is the Malaya headquarters. They are now both out of supply, so the answer is yes. That is right, isn't it? We did remove the 2 air units. Yeah. So they don't have an AZOI over their HQs, and the Japanese do. So that then means that they cannot trade supply. So yes is the answer to A. So down to B, are the DEI surrender objectives occupied? They are not. No. So no. So on to G, is this game turn 3 or more? It's not, it's game turn 2. So no. So then we get A plus C plus D. So all these have got to be yes before it's a yes. So A is, we've already asked, and that is a yes. Are they out of supply? Yes. C, does Japan have 3 or more cards? It has 6 cards, so yes. And D, does Japan control less than 13 resource hexes? Yes, it's got 4. So that's a yes, which moves us on to F. And then F says, is the logistics evaluation value 20 or more? We know it's a D20 here that's got 17 on it. We know it's not, I'm pretty sure it was 17 actually. We know it's not more than 20, because that only gets set at the beginning of the turn when you first do it, and that's it for the rest of the turn. So that's a no. So again, it's conservative southern resource strategy. Okay, so we move down to that box, and there's conservative southern resource strategy. It has note number 1, which says activations must not allow Allied HQs to become in supply. Yeah, because this is one I talked about in the previous playthrough, where the Japanese kept moving an air unit away from Malaya HQ, putting it in supply, but then the post-battle moved back to put it out of supply. But this tends to tell me that that wouldn't be allowed, because activations must not allow Allied HQs to become in supply. And the reason that it was doing it, it was saying it's not best practice to do that, but the Malaya HQ could activate nothing to help what it was doing. But we didn't have this instruction when we were doing that through that example of play. And that tells me that we wouldn't be able to do it. Whether you could override that, but I don't know. It says that must not allow Allied HQs to become in supply. But then the argument could be, well, but I'm going to activate that unit, fly it down somewhere, attack something, and then post-battle move it back. Oh well. We shall see if it comes into it, but if anybody wants to comment on that, that would be great. And if anybody wants to comment on anything that's coming up, that would be great. And certainly bring up any mistakes, or, you know, it would be great if you brought up any questions that I was unsure about as well, answers to some of the questions. Feel free, yeah. And I don't mind any criticism or anything, you know. Don't be nasty to me. I'm sure there's not much of that goes on. Not within the gaming community, the board gaming community. I don't know. Maybe there is some have strong views on things, don't they? Okay, let's not go down that road, Grant. So that was that note. So what were we? Conservative southern resource. So our first priority is DEI neutralization. So there's one up the top here. So these are our targets. Joe, Macassar, Talokbetong. That's probably wrong, but Talokbetong. We'll go with that. That's the best I can do. And then Banjarmasin. Yeah, I'm sorry, I probably will be butchering a lot of them, but I think a lot of people that do these videos are always apologising for the fact they're going to butcher these names. We're all, well, we're not all, but most of us English speaking just don't have a clue. And I don't speak any other languages, so that doesn't help. Yeah, so, and then all of them have note 4. So, note 4 says, post-battle move an air unit if possible, otherwise use a carrier. I see what it's doing. What it's wanting to do is push, like, amphibiously assault, I think, because Joe Macassar, what was that one? Talokbetong. Where is that? Yeah, Talokbetong and Banjarmasin. Sorry, just try to find them all. I found 3 of them. Banjarmasin. Well, might as well come across and show you what I'm looking at as well. Yeah. Here's Jolo, Banjarmasin, Talokbetong is over here, and then it's Macassar I'm looking for. Come on, where are you? My guess was that they were all going to be unoccupied, but I can't seem to find Macassar. Oh, there it is there. Yeah. So they are all unoccupied. So my thinking here is that the Japanese are wanting to land at these cities, whatever, and take them, and then they can post-battle move an air unit into there to start putting air zone of influence around these units. Or if not an air unit, it's the carrier. So yeah, we've not done any of this before actually, so that's quite interesting. That's quite good to see that it's moving down a different track. I think that was probably mainly based on the fact that we only had 17 for our logistics value, rather than the last time we had over the 20. Right, what's happened here, Grant? Why have I got a Japanese card in my hand? Oh, you know what? I've took that. I'm just looking at the allied hand, and it's got a Japanese card in it. I've actually drawn from the wrong deck. You know, when we played the submarine thing, it was to draw an extra strategy card. So I'll just chuck that back, and yeah, I think I showed you the card it was as well, didn't I? Yeah. So I'll see if some of you know your stuff then. Some of you, well, that's in the next part. That's not been uploaded yet, so somebody might well comment on the fact that that's a Japanese card. It's not an allied card that you've drawn. So yeah, I'll just put it back on top. I thought I would shuffle, but you know what? I don't even know what the card does. I didn't look at it. I looked at it when I showed you, you know, so yeah, I mean, I could, but we'll just leave it back on top rather than me shuffle the deck. So this is the actual card that the allies would have drawn from the submarine card. So yeah, sorry about that. It was a bit messy. So we've still got 4 cards in our hand. That's right, because we played the submarine card that replaced itself, and then we played the Arcadia Conference. Right, okay. And that other card that I put back, I don't know what it is. But yeah, I'm sure somebody will make a comment on that. Okay, yeah, so you can see what they're wanting to do here. They want to land at these places, and then in the end post-battle moves, so they've got a zone of influence. And then when we've got ground units, then they can move along and take the resource hexes. So rather than amphibious assault and riskier amphibious assault into where there's an enemy unit, you know, I think that's what the strategy is there. But of course, I could be all wrong. Right, so that's us got our strategy, DI neutralization, and our targets, and the first one being Joe here. So we'll just look at Joe just now because, yeah, well, that's the thing, they're not going to be battle hexes, are they? Because we cannot have more than one battle hex for the rest of the turn, I think. Every card is like not a military event, so my guess is they're going to have to be played for OCs. So I think we're only going to be able to create one battle hex, but I'm pretty sure that landing at empty, unless there's a special reaction possibility, landing at these doesn't count as a battle hex. So we could do multiples, but let's just look at Joe to start with, right? Okay, so we found what our first strategy and our first target is. So what is our card? So start has the wee one talking about arranging the cards. Nothing's changed with these cards, so I believe they're in this correct order. There's still that slight grey area about things, but we'll just plod along. It's maybe not a big deal. Okay, so what card are we going to use? So A is, have any cards been played this offensive phase? Yes. Yes, and we don't need to sort cards again. So again, it's probably not that relevant. Once you've sorted cards, the only thing that comes into it is if you replace a card with another. If you draw another strategy card, then you would possibly adjust the last two cards, I think. And then you would also have, maybe say you drew a military event card, then it would go in the first, it would go right. So you would have to maybe make some adjustments. That's my understanding. So B, does the hand currently hold more than two cards? Yeah, it has 6. Yes. Is this the very first card to be played this game? No. Down to E, is there an unrestricted military event available to play? Well, no, we've no military events, so that's no. And then F, which has note 2, I won't bother looking at note 2 because F is there a restricted military event available to play? And that is no as well, because we have no military events. And the reason I'll not show you note 2 is because it drops down to G, which has note 2 as well. So it says, G, do all available military event card restrictions prevent the attack or capture of the chosen objectives? Right. Right, have I missed something here? Have I missed something? Because we don't have a military event. A, B, C, and then E is a no. F, I've went F down to G, haven't I? I need to watch that. I noticed I've done that a couple of times. You need to look at the arrows, Grant, and not just sort of like get carried away and follow down there. Yeah, our question in F is there a restricted... Well, E says, is there an unrestricted military event available to play? No. F is there a restricted military event available to play? Well, it's no, so it doesn't go down here. I will give you a glance at the note then, which is down there, and it says, for the purpose of these evaluations, the card Operation MI should not be considered unless the Japanese Erasmus is still in the opening phase, Axis determination, and the strategy is Central Pacific or defensive perimeter, or it's the only remaining military event card available to play that can fulfill the objectives. So that doesn't come into it at all. We don't have that card. We don't have any military events. So we're moving from F along to no to get a non-military event OC strategy. Right, that's me back on track. Right, and that's got note 3. So what does note 3 say? So note 3 says, use the first card in the sorted order you performed for the cards at the beginning of the offensive phase. Well, that's pretty straightforward then. And admittedly, it's going to be the highest OC card. Yeah, and then, right, hang on. Yeah, and then there's the layout of the cards again. Like I say, we had 4 reaction cards, so I've got a 3. I think we just randomised these 2 together. The weather card is one of the ones you would consider for the last 2 cards. However, the priorities for the last 2 cards, these are higher priority. This is the highest priority, this is the second, and the weather's further down the list. So my understanding is these are the last 2 cards. So these are set out right, but I mean, you know, when these three cards have been played, then this is going to be the next card to play. And although this has got a 3, this is going to be the next card to play, but this is where it also has some instruction where you could consider sort of saying, look, let's not keep this event, let's play it just now because it's the right time to do it. Again, another one of these things that are going to challenge me a bit, I think. So anyway, this is the first card in the list, Operation A Go. Now it's a counter-offensive card, but however we're playing this as a non-military event OC strategy. So everything in here is ignored, I believe, and all we're concerned with is this 3. That's going to give us the amount of activations we get, and then the OC value up here is a 5, and that's what the allies would need equal to or less than on a dice roll to get a reaction. So yeah, I'm pretty sure this is quite a good card actually. But then you use it as reaction, don't you? Yeah, I guess when we went through the reaction bot chart, Erasmus chart of the Japanese, if some of this nonsense had been happening, you know, if the allies were doing something, then this could maybe have reacted and brought in a lot more units, because it looks like a really good card, doesn't it? However, it's not something, you know what, it's better to be using it for the 3 just now, because it would be removed from play if we play it for the event. If however we play it for the OC value, it's just going to the discard pile and it'll get shuffled back in at some point, and maybe see it again at a better time when its event is playable, you know. Okay, so non-military event OC strategy. So this looks like the card that we're going to play. So let's just look back at non-military event OC strategy though. Where is it? Alright, it's down the bottom here. Yeah, this was... Yeah. See, this was a bit that got me as well. I don't know if I've talked about this yet here, but it certainly confused me in the example of play, because the wee note attached to non-military event strategy up there is the 3, which is use the first card in the sorted order. And this non-military event OC strategy criteria is pick the card with the highest OC value. So what confuses me about that is, I wish I'd read that before I'd actually looked at the cards, and then we could have done this just once. So what confuses me slightly about that is, this is the first card in order, this is the highest OC value, not a problem. Let's just say that card's not there. This is the first card in order, this is not the highest OC value because we've got this War in Europe card. So they 2 things are saying things against each other. However, again, if the intent is, and this is where I just don't see something written, if I don't feel like it's clear that to say that you're not allowed to play these cards have to be kept. They're not part of this consideration at the moment. You know, if there's somewhere where it says that these aren't considered at the moment while we're making this non-military event OC strategy, because that then means that we pick this card. But if these are in the mix, then this is the first card in order, but this is the biggest OC value. So, yeah, a bit confused about that. Again, these are things I'd like answers to, so if anybody does know, it's more than likely I'm just not picking something up right. Like I say, I've not got a great understanding of the rules yet. I'm hoping that'll come and whatever, but you know, I could go start posting questions and that, and I might do it at some point if it starts bothering me or bugging me, and but part of the reason to get the videos out there is maybe somebody watching it would make a comment and clear it up for me. So, but right now this isn't a problem. So this is the card that we're going to use for this offensive. So we've got the card, we've got our target, our first target being Joe. So now we need to move on to the task. What is it? I forgot the name of it. Task Force Composition. Yeah, that's it. That's right, isn't it, Grant? Okay, so yeah, Task Force Composition. That's it. So the start has the little one note, and we'll just look at it again because it is worthy of a look. This one, I think, is this one. Yeah, it says create a force per this chart for each target determined by the axis of determination chart. If OC offensive and one battle hex has already been designated, only consider unoccupied targets, then 2 card combinations that puts more ground, air, then naval closer to the next highest priority target. Yeah, but I think the strategy that we're using here is not going to create battle hexes, so we might be able to activate more than, make more than one activation as such. We might be able to achieve more than one of our targets, if my understanding is right. Right, I suppose we should look, just before we go through this task force composition, and just find out, we're using this, sorry, I meant to zoom out there. We're using this for its 3 OC value, so that gives us 3 activations. And then we need to know the HQ we're going to use, and it's going to give us, I still cannot get this bloody word, Jesus. I'm going to look it up again. Efficiency rating. Yeah, I should write that down as well. In fact, you know what, well, no, I don't think that's how you spell it, Grant. Efficiency. Well, you know what? It doesn't matter. You're not going to see my poor spelling. I'll know what it says. Right, so now we can activate any HQ for this because we're using it as an OC value. Believe that's correct. So, and our targets are all Dutch East Indies. So here's the first one, and then we've got one here, and where's the other one? Is it maybe hiding? 1, 2, 3. Tawap Beton, was it? Can't remember. Just having a quick glance back here. Yes, it was Tawap Beton. So, so there are 4 targets. So these are all quite close together, and then this one's just a wee bit further away. So it does look like, the South HQ's nicely poised there. But whereas the last time we only had a 2 OC value on the card, we're getting a 3 this time. So we're getting 3 different hops with our air units, and we're getting 15 movement across sea with our naval units. So, well, actually, we don't know what we're wanting to bring, do we? Maybe I do need to look at the task force thing first before I can select the HQ. Yeah, I think we do. Right, sorry, hang on. Yeah, I think we do need to get a little bit into this. So yeah, we've done our one. So create a force per chart, determine. Yeah. So, and then A says, is this an air naval attack on the target? Well, it's not. All the targets are empty hexes. They're controlled by the Allies, but they're empty. There's not a unit in them. So that's a no. Is the target a coastal or island hex? Yes, it is. So C says, can you capture the target with an overland advance? No. Well, hang on. I should show you what I'm looking at, I suppose. We'll show you from a distance. Joe's here. I mean, we do have a ground unit here, but it's 3 movement to move into that hex. So the movement across the ground is quite slow. I mean, my guess is these are big areas. It's we're talking about, you know, and this is a mountain hex. So Joe's no, but Banja Mazin is the same. This is the only unit that could come down to there. And then Makassar down here's not got anything on the ground. And Tawak Batong also doesn't have any Japanese unit on the ground. So, yeah, that's a no. We can't just move across the ground and take the target. So, can you capture? That was C, so that's a no. So, down to D is the target occupied? Sorry, is the target unoccupied? Yes. So, down to G. I should zoom in up there a little bit for you, sorry. So, what did we have? We had D is the target unoccupied. Yes. Yeah, careful, Grant, because you've already made a muddle. Right, so as yes. G, is the target a potential special reaction hex? So what that means, right, my understanding of that is, does the Allies have an air zone of influence in that hex, no matter if it's neutralised or not? So let's soon have a glance. I'm pretty sure the answer's no, because it would need to be an air unit. Oh, actually, yeah. Well, Jolo does not. There's no Allied zone of influence on Jolo. What was other? Macassar's the same. There's no Allied zone of influence. Banja Mazin is quite close, because you've got to remember that. And by the way, for units to exert a zone of influence, they need to be able to be in supply. So before this Abda, and that's the other thing there, before Abda came in, this Dutch unit was not in supply and therefore did not exert its zone of influence. However, now we have Abda in play. Abda can trace supply, the air unit traces supply to Abda, and now exerts its zone of influence. Now that only stretches out two hexes right round about it, so it doesn't quite reach there. So there's no special reaction there either. So that's 3 of them. However, Tawak Batong is within 2 of the air unit in Chawachap, and so therefore does have a zone of influence in there. So if we were to make a move into that hex, it would create a special reaction, and the Allies would possibly be able to create that as a battle hex. So, but however, we're only really at the moment looking at Jolo, and Jolo was our first one, whereas hang on. Yeah, I was just checking where Tawak Batong was in the list, and that's the 3rd priority down. So if we get to the 3rd one, then this answer to this question G would be a yes for that. But however, it's a no, right? Because it's not going to create a special reaction hex. So we get an unsupported invasion. It's got notes 4 and 5. So we'll just have a wee glance at them. Note 4 says, for ground units occupying a non-Japanese island HQ hex, 1 must remain unactivated in the hex guard in the HQ. There's not. Yeah, that's not really relevant to our situation, but it could be later in the game, I think. So, and then 5 says, activate 1 ground unit to invade the target via amphibious assault. use organic transportation if available, thus activate the accompanying naval unit. If not available, use an ASP. If no ASP, skip this target. Okay, so yeah, that's fine. And then, so it wants to prefer using organic transport, which is a good idea because if it can do that, it doesn't need to spend its ASP, which wants to avoid that as much as it can, because it might want that for later in the turn. So we're looking for unsupported invasion. Yeah, it's the one down the bottom there. So our force needs to be compiled of ground units that can amphibiously assault. So there we go. Now, the cant special react. Yeah, it's a simple, straightforward process, isn't it? The allies cannot react to this at all, can they? There's no special reaction hex, and because we're not creating a battle hex, they can't just roll for intelligence. Yeah, they can't roll to react to it. Yeah, because it's not a battle hex. Yeah, okay. So, yeah, I think that's right. Okay, so coming back across. So now we know what we need. We know what our target is for the first one. We know what our card is. We know how much activations we're getting from the card. However, we need to know where our HQ is going to be to get this efficiency rating. Yeah, I know what I'm talking about. Efficiency rating. Yeah, because I had to go and read it there. That I'd written down again. So this is about obviously where I've got to start scratching my head and say, right, what do I need to bring? I mean, simply right away, this, right, and for these to do the organic transportation, they need to be stacked with, they need to be in the same hex as a naval unit, so you would need to activate both of these, and then this would just sail, just come round into Joe, and that would be that. No ASP spent, but that's 2 activations to do that. But it does want to prioritise that, so my guess is it'll use up the activations to just do that. So, well, there's one. Where's the only other? And it's only these wee units with the wee anchor in the middle that can do that organic transportation. I might just need to get the rule out just to look at that again. So if we were wanting to do that with both, the only other one I can see is a way along here. And that seems quite far away. Possibly still doable. But then again, maybe not. So I'd need to work out if we could, you know, is the distance between here and here? That's more than 13, isn't it? 10, 11, 12, 13. Yeah. So to activate this one, we would actually need to use the South Seas HQ here, which admittedly has got a better efficiency rating with 2, so it would let us activate 5 units. However, we would not have the range 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 to reach this one from the South Seas. So yeah, this is where things. Yeah, okay. I think it's probably better that I pause this and go and work this one out for myself. Now we're at the video's stretched to an hour there, so I know I think with this game I'm going to have bits where I'm going to be right in the middle of doing something and then cut the video. That's not the best procedure though, is it, Grant? Although I did leave the first video in this situation where we're just about to activate units. So I think I will do the same. So although we've got the 3, in fact, I'll take that 3 off because we've not decided what HQ that we're going to be using. I'm going to have to go and look at this and work out what the best HQ to activate to get the desired result. And yeah, I don't want to leave the camera running while I'm trying to choose that. So and the fact it's an hour, I think I'll just cut it here, and then we can make this part 3, and part 4 I'll I'll just start off where we left off, you know. I know, not ideal, be better if we finish playing this card first, but that's going to stretch the video into an hour and a half, an hour and 45 minutes probably, the way I'm going. So we'll try and keep them down to an hour. If I knew for sure it was going to be an hour and a half and finish the card, I would maybe stick with that. Well, I suppose I could pause it. Well, you know what? We'll see, guys, right? I might just pause this and add the next bit on, but if it's too long, it'll become another part. Okay, cheers.